Mario's been around for over 40 years and has had a game released every single year since 1985. Some years have had a ton of releases, while others, as you will see, had a small weak lineup of games. Today I'll be going over what I believe to be the best Mario game every year based on its initial release. Some of these games were released in different years, but to make this list as consistent as I can, I'm just going off the Mario Wiki's list. Starting in 1985, we have a very obvious pick. It's the original Super Mario Bros. This is the game that turned Mario into Mario. There were niche games in the series before this, but this was the one that started the main series and changed gaming forever. There really isn't much to say here that isn't already obvious, but even 41 years later, this game is still great. The only other Mario games that even came out this year were arguably not even Mario games, so they're not even really worth talking about. 1986, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. So this is one of those games that makes way more sense when you know the context. Nintendo made a sequel, realized it was basically the same game but way harder, and decided Western audiences probably wouldn't like it. And honestly, they were probably right. This game is brutal, it expects perfect jumps, messes with your muscle memory, and loves throwing cheap tricks at you. Invisible blocks for pits, poison mushrooms, wind. It's a game made for people who had already beaten Super Mario Bros. Multiple times and wanted something meaner. I don't think it's especially fun, but it is interesting. It shows that Nintendo hadn't figured out what Mario sequels should look like yet, and for 1986 it was the most substantial Mario release, at least worldwide. We didn't get this in the US until years later on the SNES through Super Mario All-Stars, but like I said, I'm just going off the Mario Wiki list, these games' initial releases worldwide. 1987, I'm going with Golf US Course. This is the first year where there was no traditional Mario game in any sense of the word. There's no big Mario platformer here, not even a game with Mario in the title that I could find. So the best Mario game of 1987 ends up being Golf US Course, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about the year. Mario and Luigi are in it, but barely. This is a golf game that happens to use Mario characters, not a Mario game in the way most people think of one. That said, it's a polished game, it plays well for what it is, and it did help establish Mario as Nintendo's go-to mascot for sports games, which would obviously become a huge part of the franchise later. This isn't a year anyone looks back on fondly for Mario, but it's an early example of Nintendo using Mario to fill gaps while they figured out their next big move. 1988, Super Mario Bros. 3. So here's where we really need to be clear about regions again. Super Mario Bros. 3 released in Japan in 1988, but didn't come out in North America until 1990. That means if you were living in the US in 1988, the best Mario game you actually had access to would have been Super Mario Bros. 2 this year. That said, from a release history standpoint, Super Mario Bros. 3 still takes 1988 very easily. And that's not just because it's the most important, but this game is a massive leap forward. The overworld map alone completely changes how Mario feels. Instead of just running through levels, you're also navigating a world. Add in the Super Leaf, the Tanuki suit, the Koopalings, the airship. It's just loaded with ideas. It's still one of the best platformers of all time, and I can only imagine how much it sucked having to wait 2 years to play this back in the late 80s, because that is a crazy wait, and back then it was not nearly as easy to play different region games. 1989, Super Mario Land. So this is a weird little game, and it's one of my least favorite in the main series. It was Mario's first mainline handheld game, and you can tell Nintendo wasn't sure how much they could get away with yet. The physics feel off compared to the NES games, the enemies are strange, and the levels are really short. But I do also kind of love how experimental it is. You're fighting aliens, piloting a submarine, and jumping through worlds that don't feel like the Mushroom Kingdom at all because you're in the Birabudo Kingdom. It doesn't try to be Super Mario Bros. On a tiny screen, it just does its own thing. This was another very weak year for Mario since its competition was games that don't even really classify as Mario games, and Super Mario Bros. On the Nelsonic Game Watch, if you've ever heard of that. 1990, Super Mario World. So this is still my favorite 2D Mario platform of all time, and it officially came out in the US in 1991, but obviously came out earlier in Japan. There's not much to say about this game that you probably don't already know if you're watching this video. Like, there was no other platform at the time that compared to this. The visuals look great, there's new power-ups, it just feels better to control. There's Yoshi, who's obviously a big addition here, and it is hard to overstate how important that was at the time, because obviously now we just see Yoshi as just a regular in Mario games, but he did really change how you can approach a lot of levels. And on top of that, like I mentioned, the game is just packed with secrets. Multiple exits, hidden paths, Star Road. This is one of the first Mario games that really encourages you to explore instead of just going right, and this is something we really wouldn't see in a lot of future 2D Mario games because they had very limited exploration. And there weren't really other Mario games in 1990 competing with this, because this was still before Mario started to get all these big spin-offs, so this was another incredibly easy decision. 1991 is NES Open Tournament Golf. This is another thin year, and it shows. NES Open Tournament Golf is technically a Mario game in the sense that Mario and Luigi are front and center, but like earlier sports titles, this is still Mario as a mascot rather than Mario as a platformer or Mario really starring in his own type of spin-off. That said, I guess it's the best quote-unquote Mario game released that year. It has personality, Mario and Luigi will react to stuff in the game, the courses feel distinct, and it has a real sense of progression. It's not revolutionary by any means, but it's a solid NES golf game, and this is another year where best doesn't mean great, but I had to choose one game for this year. 1992, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. This is a huge step up from the first Mario Land, and it finally feels like a true Mario game rather than an experiment. The controls are tighter, the worlds are bigger, and the game actually feels ambitious despite being on the Game Boy. The biggest thing here is Wario, and introducing him as the villain instantly gives the game more personality and spun off an entire series from here. And the world structure is also way more interesting than you'd expect for a handheld game at the time, with multiple themed areas instead of a straight line. Even though I didn't grow up with this one, it is easy to appreciate how important it was. And while I didn't really like the original Super Mario Land, I thoroughly enjoyed Super Mario Land too. And there was actually competition this year. Like most of my picks so far have just been very easy, but there was Super Mario Kart as well in 1992, and you could definitely argue that, but I think that Super Mario Land 2 is just the better game. Now for 1993, we have Mario and Wario, and it's another one of those years that is just not very important for Mario history. It was a Japan-only game, it uses a mouse, and it barely resembles a traditional Mario game at all. Instead of controlling Mario directly, you guide him indirectly through puzzled levels. It's a very strange and experimental game, and something that probably most of you have never played of. I've heard of this game, I didn't know the exact year it came out until I looked, but I've never once played it. But if we look at the competition, it's a bunch of random games that barely even count as Mario games, like the Mario Educational series, and then some arcade and MS-DOS versions of games. Now on to 1994. This may be the worst year for Mario, and that's because the pick here is Mario's Time Machine. And no, this is not a joke. So if we look at the other games for 1994, you'll see a bunch of games that aren't actually Mario games, like Wario and Donkey Kong games. You'll see Hotel Mario, you'll see other Mario educational games, and you'll see Mario Factory on the game processor. There also is Tetris and Dr. Mario, but that's not really a new game, that's just a compilation. And yeah, this year was completely a disaster for Mario when you look at what came out, and there's not really much to say about this. It's an interesting concept. Like, Mario traveling through history is cool, but it's just an educational game. It's not something that anyone would ever want to play for any other reason than for the gimmick of it, and I think it's time we move on to 1995. So for 1995, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. Like I had them captioned that I'm not going with Yoshi games or Wario games or anything like that, but I'm just gonna go with Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island here, just because there really wasn't anything else this year. Like, there was Mario Picross, there was Mario Clash, and if you want me to pick one that's officially a Mario game, I'll go with Mario Picross, but I just figured it would be more interesting to talk about Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Now, I originally played on the Game Boy Advance, but on the SNES, this game completely changed how people thought of Nintendo platformers or Mario platformers, because it stars Yoshi, and it's a much slower, methodical game where you use eggs and ground pounding to defeat enemies and go past obstacles, and it's an incredible experience. The music is great, the levels are creative, and the game is harder than it looks. Like, a lot of the newer Yoshi games have been pretty easy, but this one definitely had a better balance with its difficulty. 1996, a very easy choice here. It's Super Mario 64. It completely redefined what Mario could be, and honestly, what 3D games could be in general. This is one of those games that gets talked about so much that it feels overrated until you actually play it. The freedom you have here was unbelievable for the time. Instead of just moving left to right, you're exploring open spaces, you're choosing what objectives you want to do, you're learning how Mario moves in a fully 3D environment. Now, the camera's not perfect, but considering this was one of the first Nintendo games to really attempt something like this, it's really impressive how much Nintendo got right. There were other Mario-related things happening around this time, but none of them mattered compared to Mario 64. Like, this was a groundbreaking game not just for Mario, but for the entire industry. And there were two great games, Mario Kart 64 and Super Mario RPG both came out this year. And while they're still both incredible, especially Super Mario RPG, which I really love, I mean, come on, they're not better than Super Mario 64. For 1997, we have Game & Watch Gallery. So this is another thin year, and it's very obvious why. Game & Watch Gallery isn't a traditional Mario game at all. It's just a collection of older Game & Watch titles, with Mario sometimes appearing in updated versions as like a sort of host or visual upgrade, if you want to call it that. So I'm trying not to include collections, but there was really not much else here. This did reintroduce classic Nintendo games to a new audience, and the modern versions with Mario characters gave them a bit of personality and charm. It's not exciting, and it's not something most people associate with Mario history, but it's still the most notable Mario-related release of the year. And you could say that Yoshi's Story should count here, but I mean, at least with Yoshi's Island, it has Super Mario World 2 in the title. 1998, Mario Party. So this is where Mario really started branching out in a big way. It's not a platformer at all, and it's not a sports game, but it became the start of really a brand new genre. This game is essentially a digital board game with mini games, and not only has it started a big Mario series, but there's been so many other spin-offs, whether it's Wii Party, Lego Party, whatever that game is called, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. This is a very revolutionary game. Now, the original Mario Party is rough in places, the mini games are pretty simple, the pacing can be slow, and the infamous control stick mini games are just genuinely painful, but the core idea is strong, and multiplayer Mario was fairly new at the time. Besides Mario Kart games and some Mario sports games, there really wasn't too much. Or many other Mario games in 1998, so Mario Party was a fairly easy choice here. 1999, Mario Party 2. So if Mario Party was the proof of concept, Mario Party 2 really did a lot to refine it. Released just a year later, it fixed a lot of the issues from the first game, and adds way more personality in the process. The theme boards, the costumes, and the stronger presentation make it feel like a much more complete experience. This is where Mario Party really finds its identity. The minigames are better, the board's more memorable, and the game feels like it actually understands what made the original fun. For a lot of people, this is still the Mario Kart they think of first. Really, the only other Mario games this year were Mario Golf, and I definitely think that Mario Party 2 is the better game. For 2000, I'm going with Paper Mario. This was a turning point for Mario because Paper Mario shows that Nintendo was was okay with taking the character in a different direction that up until this point, we really hadn't seen before. I mean, we had Super Mario RPG, but that was it. This game is slower, it's more dialogue heavy, and way more story focused than what people were used to from Mario, and it worked almost immediately. Even playing it all these years later, what stands out is how charming it is. The paper art style was a smart way to simplify visuals on the N64, but it also gave the game its own storybook identity. Combat is turn-based but interactive, with times it's keeping things engaging instead of passive. The characters are memorable, the humor actually lands, and the world feels surprisingly cohesive for an N64 game. There weren't many other Mario games in 2000 competing with this, and even if there was, it would be hard to beat Paper Mario because this is truly one of my favorite Mario games ever, and it was truly a great way to really send off this generation. Now maybe you like Mario Party, maybe you like Mario Tennis, but I don't think too many of you are going to argue with my pick for this. 2001, Luigi's Mansion. So even though this isn't technically a Mario game, I still wanted to talk about it here. This was a launch title for the GameCube, and it immediately stood out by not being a traditional Mario game that you'd expect to be a Nintendo launch title. Instead of Mario, Nintendo handed the spotlight to Luigi, and then dropped him in a haunted mansion with a vacuum cleaner. The tone is what really makes this game work, and it still really hasn't been repeated in this series. Luigi is scared, awkward, and completely out of his element, and the game leans into that hard. It's a short game, it's a little repetitive, and it isn't super deep, but it's still an extremely memorable and fun game. There were a couple other Mario games that were notable in 2001, but nothing even close to Luigi's Mansion. In 2002, we have Super Mario Sunshine. So this is a very controversial Mario game. People either love it or hate it. I really like Super Mario Sunshine, even if it's not one of my favorite Mario games. I like the tropical vibe of it. I like FLUDD, who completely changes how Mario moves. Compared to 64, where it's pretty standard movement, this game allows you to hover, spray water, allows you to clean the goop off Isle Delfino, and also you can fly through the air as much as you want in this game. The controls can be frustrating at times, and there's some levels that really work against you, but I still think this is a very well made platformer. Unless you think like Mario Party 4 is better than Mario Sunshine, I think this is a pretty safe pick for 2002. 2003 is Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, and this is where the games really start to mean a lot to me, because I played this growing up a few years after it came out. This was the first game in the great Mario & Luigi series. It completely changed the battle system that we saw in Super Mario RPG and then Paper Mario, because you can avoid taking damage in here, and instead of just controlling Mario or controlling a partner that you only control at specific times, you control Mario and Luigi here at all times. If you press A, Mario jumps, if you press B, Luigi jumps, and even though this is the first game in the series on the Game Boy Advance, it's incredibly fun. The world here is one of the best we've seen in the Bean Bean Kingdom. There's so many unique characters, so many funny moments, and this game is really special to me. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and in my opinion, it is the best Mario & Luigi game. And for 2004, this was a very easy pick once again. It's Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. So there was actually a lot here, and I did consider going with Super Mario 64 DS. That probably the first video game I ever played, and personally, I think I like Super Mario 64 a little better than Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, but the 64 DS controls are definitely off, and I wanted to really focus on a new game for 2004, especially one as great as The Thousand. This game basically just changed everything the original Paper Mario did, and just made it even better. The combat is deeper, the partners are more interesting, the story is darker, and this game is just way more ambitious. What really stands out is how confident this game feels. It leans hard into the weird locations, strange characters, and longer story arcs without losing the charm that makes it feel like Mario. Even now, this is the game that everyone compares the rest of the series to. 2004 actually has a couple solid Mario releases, and Mario Pinball Land came out this year also, which I personally really love, but I had to go with Thousand Year Door here. And then in 2005, for the third year in a row, I'm going with Mario & Luigi Partners in Time. So this was actually one of the more difficult years on here, because while a lot of them just had a runaway choice, there was also Mario Kart DS this year. It's extremely close. These are both games I grew up with, but for me, I think I just like Partners in Time better. And a much darker tone that you'd usually expect from a Mario RPG. The story is weirdly bleak at times, with the Shrooms being one of the most unsettling villains Mario's ever had. It's also mechanically ambitious. It has 4 playable characters on the DS, and never feels overwhelming. That said, it's not perfect. The pacing can drag, some areas feel repetitive, and the game definitely is a little linear, but I still think this is an incredible game, and I think Mario Kart DS also deserves a shout out here. For 2006, it's New Super Mario Bros., the original before the series became stale. After a decade plus of no brand new 2D Mario game, this brought 2D Mario back in a big way, quite literally because of Mega Mushroom. And for all of us who were born in the early 2000s, this was a game we played constantly. Like, try to find someone who had a DS and didn't play this. The game doesn't do anything crazy. The art style is pretty standard even at the time. The structure is very traditional. And the music, like, this was before these games were used over and over again. I really love how it sounds on the DS. And there's some new power-ups here, like the Mega Mushroom I mentioned, which didn't really have that many practical uses, but it was still fun. And also the blue shell that we need back in another Mario game. I still believe that this is probably the best Super Mario Bros. Game. Then On to 2007, which may be the best year for Mario ever. Here's just a list of a few games we got. Mario Party DS, Mario and Sonic the Olympic Winter Games, Mario Party 8, Mario Strikers Charge, Super Paper Mario, which, I mean, if you're a fan of this channel, you already know I love, but it's Super Mario Galaxy here, come on. Super Mario Galaxy is my favorite game of all time. It's probably the favorite game of all time for some of you too. This is just an amazing game, and even in a stacked year, this was an easy choice. This feels like Nintendo at the absolute top of their game. The gravity mechanics completely change how Mario moves in 3D, and somehow it feels intuitive almost immediately. Every galaxy introduces a new idea, uses it just enough to stay fresh, and then moves on. The presentation is incredible, the music is iconic and probably the best we've ever seen in a video game, and the sense of scale and story just makes Mario feel larger than ever. And I do want to talk a little bit more about Super Paper Mario, because that deserves real recognition too. It is a weird hybrid of an RPG and a platformer, and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I just think the story is incredible. I love the characters, the music, I even like the gameplay here. This is probably the best year for Mario, for being honest. Like, look at the other years here, there's some really great ones, but 2007 might just be the best. Let me know in the comments. For 2008, this was the year I actually got my Wii. I'm going with Mario Kart Wii. This is one of the games that people argue endlessly about, and I get why. Because there are a lot of text here. There was very sweaty online lobbies here, and some of the items definitely aren't balanced, but despite all that, this game was absolutely amazing. Motion controls I actually really liked here. I thought it played just fine. The track list here is crazy, like Wario's Gold Mine, Mushroom Gorge, Coconut Mall. Even people who don't consider themselves to be Mario fans played Mario Kart Wii. It's unavoidable for anyone my age. And there were other Mario releases in 2008, like Mario Super Sluggers, which is a personal favorite of mine. But to this day, I think Mario Kart Wii is probably the best Mario Kart game ever. For 2009, there's two games that possibly could have been either New Super Mario Bros. Wii or Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, and I'm going with Bowser's Inside Story. It takes everything that the Mario and Luigi series had been building towards and absolutely nails it. It's not my favorite Mario and Luigi game, but it definitely feels like it's on a bigger scale. The concept alone of playing as Mario and Luigi inside Bowser's body while also controlling Bowser himself is ridiculous, and somehow it works perfectly. Bowser finally feels like a real character instead of just a villain. His combat is satisfying, the humor is sharp, the game constantly switches things up to never get stale. The music is great once again, the boss is memorable, and the pacing is definitely tighter than Partners in Time, even though I like that game a little better. New Super Mario Bros. Wii is great too. That was one of my favorite games to play at the time, and you could really go with either one depending on your preference. 2010 is an easy choice. It's Super Mario Galaxy 2. This was one of the first games I got when it came out, and I can tell you, without a doubt, I was not disappointed. As a big Super Mario Galaxy fan, I was wondering what Nintendo would do in the sequel, and what they did was just more peak. It's literally just a bigger version of Mario Galaxy with some creative new power-ups, more great music, and it definitely is a lot more open. It is definitely on a bigger scale, and it's probably my second favorite game of all time. I do prefer the original Galaxy just because I like the quieter, more story-heavy vibe of it, and I do like how the game gives you more time to breathe, but Galaxy 2 just, wow, what an experience that was. 2011 is Super Mario 3D Land, so this is a quiet year for Mario, but Mario 3D Land ends up being a really important bridge game. This was Nintendo kind of combining 2D Mario and 3D Mario. It's not close to being on the same scale as any other 3D Mario game, especially being on a handheld, but it's a very approachable game. The levels are bite-sized, the objectives are clear, and the controls do feel good for a 3DS game. It also introduces mechanics that would later define 3D World, like the tighter camera control and more linear level design. Not my favorite thing, but definitely a game that you need to play as a Mario fan. There were other good games this year, like I really like Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, and Mario Kart 7, but I think Super Mario 3D Land is a pretty easy choice here. On to 2012, so this was not a great year for Nintendo and Mario. We got Mario Party 9, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Paper Mario Sticker Star, and New Super Mario Bros. U. So New Super Mario Bros. U I don't think is a bad game. I think it's a good game, and that's what I'm going with here, but it is an incredibly safe game. The level design is strong, the world map is nice here, and the multiplayer chaos is still part of the appeal, but it was just way too samey to the other New Super Mario Bros. Games, especially considering we got one earlier in the year, even though this is a better version of it. 2013 is the year of Luigi, but we did get Super Mario 3D World. So there was a lot here. We got Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which, once again, you may not consider to be a Mario game. We got a bunch of Luigi games, and the real contender here was Mario & Luigi Dream Team. And as much as I do like Dream Team, Super Mario 3D World is a game I didn't really appreciate at the time, because it isn't a big scale 3D Mario like a Galaxy or Sunshine or 64. It is a more linear game. It's basically just a fully realized version of the 3D Land formula, but for what it is, it's very fun. It has 4-player co-op. It has much more detailed worlds. It has fun power-ups like the cat bell, and the music here, I love the big band feel of it. I'm really glad this game came to Nintendo Switch because this was a game that was really underrated for a long time and finally gave people another chance to play it. And this was also the game that people really think of defining the Wii U era for Mario. For 2014, there's a couple games here. Captain Toad if you want to count that, but it's Mario Kart 8. I mean, what a fantastic game. This is where Mario Kart really feels modern. The anti-gravity mechanic adds just enough twist to freshen things up without overcomplicating the formula, and and the track design is some of the best in the series. The presentation is also a huge step up. The game looks great, sounds great, it feels polished in a way that really stands out, especially on the Wii U. The online here was also a huge step up from the Wii. I remember getting this game when it came out, and unlike Mario Kart World, which I kind of fell off of in like 2 weeks, I played this for years. So now we're really in the thick of the dark ages of Mario. Mario Party 10, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. It was not a great year for Mario, but there was one great game, and it was Super Mario Maker. This game was hyped for years, because for the first time, Nintendo was really giving the players control to do what they wanted. You could have 4 different game themes, whether it's Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, or New Super Mario Bros. U, and design your own levels. And while it was fun to play other levels, using your creativity to make whatever level you wanted was some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game. Now on to 2016, which was really the end of the dark ages of Mario, because when you hear my pick for this, you're gonna be shocked. It's Paper Mario Color Splash, which is not a game I particularly like. It makes sense when you look at the other games this year. Mario Party Star Rush, Mario Maker for the 3DS, Super Mario Run, Mario and Sonic in the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. What an awful year. So this may not be the worst just because there are quite a few games here, and there's some years where there's not even really a Mario game, but they didn't get us hit on a single one here, and that's crazy. I mean, I guess Paper Mario Color Splash has things to like about it. I think that it's a very bland game. I think that the lack of story, the lack of experience points, the lack of anything unique really brings it down, and it just doubled down on the dumb decisions made with Sticker Star. I don't think it's the worst thing of all time, but yeah, the fact that I have to go with this for 2016 says a lot. So now we're on to 2017 with a much better game, I guess you could say, and it's Super Mario Odyssey. So this was the start of the Switch era, and this is the game that really brought back the open style 3D Mario game. The open-ended levels are packed with secrets, and the capture mechanic completely redefines how you interact with the world. This is one of the most creative things that Nintendo's ever done with a Mario game. Pretty much everything is playable, whether it's enemies, objects, even environmental hazards become tools. It's playful in a way that feels very intentional. Like, Nintendo wanted curiosity to be the main driving force. There were some other pretty good games, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though it's not an original game. There's Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, but this year belonged Mario Odyssey. So on to 2018, it's Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. So as you can tell, a pretty weak year for Mario. Wasn't too much, and I'm only going with this just because I don't want to have to pick something like Super Mario Party or Mario Tennis Aces, which I didn't think were great. I mean, it's fine. I never really played this much. It's just a remake of Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, so you know it's good, but no one bought this game. This was maybe the worst selling Mario game of the 21st century. And it's too bad, because if this came out on the Switch, this could have really sold well, but they released it on the 3DS. Also, I just want to say that this came out in 2019 in North America. Now we're on to 2019, and there were 2 good choices here. So I either could have went with Luigi's Mansion 3 or Super Mario Maker 2, and I'm going with Luigi's Mansion 3. I think you could definitely argue Super Mario Maker 2 is the better game. It introduced slopes, it introduced Super Mario 3D World, even though it's not really 3D. It had some cool online features. Didn't really change too much from Super Mario Maker, the original, and that's pretty much just why I'm going with Luigi's Mansion 3 here. It doesn't have the same vibe as the original, but I really love the hotel. I love the different themes on each floor, and this is really what brought Luigi's Mansion back and made it incredibly popular again. So I don't know, let me know in the comments, do you like Luigi's Mansion 3 or Super Mario Maker 2 better? And now we're on to the decade we're in now, in 2020, and this year was not great for Mario either. We got Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which I'm not going to be counting since it's just a collection. We got Super Mario Bros. 35, which was a neat experiment that for some reason Nintendo just got rid of, and I'm gonna have to go with a game here that I'm not a big fan of. It's Paper Mario the Origami King. So it is an alright made game. Visuals are nice, music's really good, but it suffers from most of the same issues as Color Splash and Sticker Star. A lot of people do really love this game though, and I will give it credit, it is a step in the right direction, and from there, we did get the 1000 Year Door remake, so who knows what we're getting next. But yeah, it's not the best sign when Color Splash and Origami King have both been the best Mario games in a certain year. And we're into 2021, and while there wasn't as much, there was definitely some higher quality games. So we got Mario Party Superstars, which finally moved the Mario Party series back in the right direction. Like, Mario Party Superstars is a very fun game. We got Mario Golf Super Rush, which is alright, it's nothing crazy. And we got Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which is what I'm gonna go with for 2021. So if it was just the Mario 3D World Remaster Switch Edition, I would go with Mario Party Superstars, but we got an entire new game here. Now, was it a full 3D Mario game? No. It's only a few hours, but it's a very fun game. It really shows off what an open world Mario game can be. Now for 2022, there's only 2 Mario games this year. Mario Strikers Battle League, which, yeah, that one is not getting picked. It was a very disappointing game. And Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is the pick here. So I'm not the biggest fan of tactical RPGs, but I do enjoy the Mario plus Rabbids series, and this was definitely a fun experience. This is definitely worth picking up if you haven't played it, because you could literally find it for like $5. The music here is great. The level design's a lot more open than in the original Mario plus Rabbids. The one knock I have is that there's less variety with the weapons in it. Like, you only have one per character and you just upgrade those. But this is still a very fun game. So now for 2023, there's only 2 games as well, but both games that you should definitely play if you have a Switch. Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Super Mario RPG. So I do like Super Mario RPG better, but I'll go with Super Mario Bros. Wonder here just because that's a brand new original game, while Super Mario RPG is a remake. And if there's only mediocre games besides Super Mario RPG, I would still go with that. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder was the first non-new Super Mario Bros. 2D Mario game we got in over 20 years, and was a joy to play through. The worlds are much different here. The badge system is cool even though it isn't implemented the best, and a big problem I have with the multiplayer is that it's very easy to have someone get lost off screen, but the level design here is great. The Wonder Flowers change up each level, and I'm excited to see what Nintendo could do if they decide to make a Super Mario Bros. Wonder 2. And Super Mario RPG, of course, that's another fantastic game, and you gotta go play that as well if you haven't. Now on to 2024, where we get a lot more games. We got Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which was a remake of one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games. Princess Peach Showtime, which I've actually never played. Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake, which on its own is the best game, but I don't want to talk about a remake here since there are other quality games. Super Mario Party Jamboree, which is another very fun Mario Party game, and Mario and Luigi Brothership. So I really don't know what to pick for this. Mario and Luigi Brothership is not the best Mario and Luigi game. It's probably my second least favorite, and I think it misses the mark a lot on what a Mario and Luigi game should be, even though I do like it. But Super Mario Party Jamboree is, in my opinion, one of the best Mario Party games we've gotten in a long time. Probably the best since Mario Party 8. So I don't know, I want to go with Super Mario Party Jamboree here, but Brothership definitely has an argument too. Super Mario Party Jamboree just does what you'd want from a Mario Party game. It doesn't have the stupid car system, it has incredibly fun minigames, and the Mario and Luigi Brothership is still a game worth playing if you're a big fan of the series, even though it kind of drags on. And then finally we arrive at 2025. So there wasn't much this year. We got the Mario Galaxy remasters, which are not worth $70. We got the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Party Jamboree, and the only true brand new Mario game we got this year was Mario Kart World, so that's the pick here. So there's a lot of controversy with this game. Some people hate it, some people love it. I'm on the fence about it. I think it's a fun game. I think it's a well-made game. I do have a lot of issues with it that I went over in my Mario Kart ranking if you want to check that out. I think this game will only get better though. And I also do just want to say, even though it's not a Mario game, Donkey Kong Bonanza, unbelievable game. And now for 2026, I'm going with Mario Odyssey 2, which came out in November of 2026. Like, it just took everything that Mario Odyssey did and then completely expanded upon it. And yeah, obviously I'm talking about a game that does not exist yet. That's a joke. And that is the list. So I think a lot of these picks are not controversial. I think there's a couple that you could argue. I really just made this to look back at the past 40 years of Mario, seeing what games came out each year, which one was the best, because it's very impressive that even though some years have been pretty weak, that there's been a new Mario game every single year. And for the most part, there's usually a pretty good Mario game that's the best each year, with a few exceptions. So if you enjoyed this and enjoyed hearing me talk about each year what the best Mario game was, be sure to like and subscribe, and also consider joining my Discord. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this, because I definitely have a lot of ideas that I want to make into videos. Thank you for watching Domainy, and I'll see you next time.